Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
On the program, we were talking just a little bit about the rally that took place in Hot Springs. And I had a commenter on our Facebook Live page, Billy Sessions, who was a part of it, and who actually does travel the country and goes to these type of events. And so I reached out to him, and I want to just welcome to the program, welcome Mr. Billy Sessions to the program. Billy, thanks for coming on, sir.
You bet.
So just tell me, Billy, a little bit about, I want to get my head wrapped around, first of all, what it is, the rally on Hot Springs, what you were trying to accomplish, what your group, what their intentions are.
Well, it's more or less to support the monument. It's called Confederate Square. It's been going on for a couple of years. James Dale Brock was one that puts it on. We've seen the Confederate monuments be under attack for quite some time, along with the Confederate flag. So we've been doing this to support the monument kind of as a prior thing, because we know they're trying to take them down everywhere.
And so this was the third year that this has been a rally that took place on Hot Springs, down in Hot Springs, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So it was for the most part, and I want to talk about Charlottesville here in a little bit, but I just want people to know what exactly went on in Hot Springs this weekend. I mean, I know it was mostly peaceful, but I also know that the Antifa people were there. The Antifa people were there, and I mean, how many of the counter-protesters, and were they dressed up like ninjas the way they are in the mainstream press?
Oh, yeah. Well, we were coming back from Memphis. We'd been to Lexington, Kentucky at the monument there, swung by Memphis. We was on our way back to Hot Springs, and all this blowed up. You know, we have the event every month. So, I mean, we wasn't thinking nothing about it. We were on our way back to Hot Springs, and, I mean, Facebook went crazy. The rumor was put out that it was a KKK rally. Well, we had to come on and basically debunk that, because we're not white supremacists. We have no affiliation with any white supremacist group. So we had people, see Hot Springs, concerned. Mm-hmm. I mean, after Charlottesville, everybody's concerned about that type of thing, and we just had to clarify. And we gathered up with law enforcement and briefed them on what we were planning on doing, and they prepared for it. And we told them what kind of opposition we thought we would be facing. Yeah. And we were pretty accurate on that number. And there was 75 of us, roughly 65, 75, been throughout the day. And there were around 350, 400 of the left. You had Antifa, Redneck Revolt, BLM, and Black Panthers.
Wow.
And yes, they were dressed up like ninjas.
Okay, so they were in the all black and the having their faces covered. I saw there in some reports it did make that there was one point where the Antifa people charged at you guys. Describe what was going through your head when that happened.
Well, Paul, not a whole lot was going through my head. I've been to 11 of these things. And we were marching down the sidewalk. We were marching toward the monument. She was going to lay flowers on the monument, okay, of all the fallen Confederate soldiers. And we were walking on the other side of the highway from where they were having their event. See, they had a permitted event down the road from us as a counter-protest.
Okay.
And there were about 350 of them there gathered, and when they seen us marching down the other side of the road, and it wasn't all of us, it was probably about 30 of us, going to the monument, they all rushed to the sidewalk, gathered about 50 of them, and they charged across the road with their fists reared back, hollering obscenities, and, I mean, they were coming on a full-blown attack toward us. And one officer from Hot Springs PD, I said, they're attacking, get ready. and he come running and throwed himself in front of that angry mob that was pouring toward us. And how he stopped them, I don't know.
Wow.
They were actually swinging their fists out around him, trying to hit us. It's on video, Channel 11. As we had about 2 foot in between the sidewalk and the wall of the building squeezed through. And they did take some of them to jail.
So this was, about 3 of them to jail, right? Is that what I read in the reports?
I think there was a total of 4 of them went to jail. They took a native Hot Springs guy to jail for a federal felony for burning a Confederate flag on top of the hedge bushes on federal property.
So where do these Antifa people come from? We have an Arkansas audience. I just want them to know what can happen. I mean, they were bussing these people in. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes, you've got leftist organizations that raises money. They will put out Craigslist ad offering anywhere $15 to $30 an hour. I've seen pay these people to get on a bus, come up to your hometown, and tear things up.
Mm-hmm. That's incredible. I mean, it's obviously it's happening all across the country, but this is just how charged things were. I mean, you think most of these people were coming from Little Rock, or where were they coming from?
Well, I know from the people who was arrested was from Hot Springs and Little Rock, but they all didn't come from Hot Springs and Little Rock. They probably come from Shreveport. I heard rumor that some of them was coming up from Baton Rouge, Black Panthers. Mm-hmm. And BLM from New Orleans.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm glad that everything was okay in terms of, the officer doing what he did and that it wasn't, a spectacle the way it was in Charlottesville. Now, I want to talk about, the way the media mischaracterized this. I mean, they were calling this Hot Springs rally this weekend a Confederate rally, which, of course, that goes out to the AP, and you have people in Shreveport and Little Rock that are going to read that, and, it gets characterized as a Confederate rally. You guys are just there saying, hey, look, we first of all, you're there exercising your First Amendment right to peaceably assemble. You have the permit, but you guys are just there saying, hey, this is our history, this is heritage, like, look, we shouldn't mess with the statue, this is ridiculous, don't try to sanitize history. And yet, they want to lump what you guys are doing in with the racists and the neo-Nazis, that what happened in Charlottesville. So comment on that and talk about, because I know that you and your group, you were actually in Charlottesville, correct? Tell us about that.
Yes. Well, first, there were some internet blogger. He basically chases wrecks. His news outlet's 911 something. Okay, I don't really know the name of it. He put out everywhere, contacted every media outlet and said there was a Ku Klux Klan rally, which actually false. He knows it was not a Ku Klux Klan rally. He knows we're not white supremacists. So that's where it blowed up right there. And yes, once it got out in the media, that's what happened. That's what brought all the factions. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's what brought all the factions to Hot Springs, and they said they were going to turn it, Hot Springs, into another Charlottesville.
Unbelievable. I'm really glad that it didn't. So you put out a video to correct what the media was mischaracterizing with Hot Springs, yes. And you said, yes, we were at Charlottesville, but we never went in Lee Park when the white supremacist KKK neo-Nazis were there, because you guys disagree with that kind of discrimination, right? I mean, you guys are not racists.
That's right. We never entered Lee Park. We never was a part of the white nationalist or the white supremacist speaking event in Lee Park. We stayed in the street. We was there in Charlottesville. We seen a lot of bad things go on. Matter of fact, we got caught up in the middle of it, and we got several guys injured, out of our group. But no, we wasn't playing along with the white supremacists.
So I want to hear what happened next. But first I want to say this. So Donald Trump, he took a ton of criticism in his second press conference when he said not everybody in Charlottesville was a neo-Nazi white supremacist KKK member, and you are essentially confirming that. And the media, of course, they wanted to say everybody in Charlottesville was KKK. I mean, was white supremacist. This kind of really, it inflates the number of people that they can then say, well, look, our country, 50% of people are racist and 50% of the people aren't. And, they want us to think that this thing is a powder keg about to explode, because in most of Americans are just enjoying their freedom, trying to work, trying to put food on the table, and and living their life. And so that's the narrative that they're trying to put out there. So tell us, though, because there's some reports, even from Black Lives Matter. The Daily Caller had a quote from somebody from the Black Lives Matter movement saying the police at Charlottesville abandoned the situation. Some people say that the people in Lee Park, which I know you weren't in, were funneled towards the Black Lives Matter people. What can you tell us? What went on the ground?
Well, Paul, I'll tell you what we witnessed when we was there. We showed up on the east side of Lee Park out in the street. Okay, they were an angry mob of 700 to 1,000 right there at the south side of Lee Park, and that is where the entrance was to where the Unite the Right event was taking place. Lee Park sits up on top of a little knoll, a set of steps going up to it. Okay, we were there at the bottom in the street. We was watching this take place. We had riot police come in from behind us. Okay, they were some tear gas chunked and back and forth in the crowd of that 1,000 angry mob. We did not want to go through that angry mob. We were forced through that angry mob by police. Well, we got 3 people injured. We got 2 guys with skull fractures. 1 guy with some broke ribs, and some other minor injuries to other people, All right, we got on the other side, over on the west side of Lee Park. After we went through that angry mob, I gathered everybody up. The leader of the 1st Tennessee Rifles gathered his guys up, which was with us. And we seen the riot police up in Lee Park. Instead of pushing the white supremacists out the north side where the angry mob wasn't gathered, they pushed them out the south side with riot shields and stuff, right into that angry mob of about 1,000 Antifa and BLM. And that's when, it was just a riot. These guys were coming out. They were barricaded. They didn't have no choice but to come out there. And they were coming right down in this. One black guy had a aerosol can with a cigarette lighter, using it as a flamethrower. The people coming down the steps, they were spraying pepper spray, throwing bricks, throwing rocks, had clubs, and they were just beating everybody that the cops was pushing out of Lee Park. So, yes, the police caused the violence by their actions and how they initiated pushing people out. And they were cops right behind where I was standing. Matter of fact, I was standing right there with the InfoWars reporter. And these cops was behind the barricade, sitting there watching all that take place. Had a street barricaded off. Just sitting there watching it all take place. White nationalists was coming out with gashes in their heads, blood all over them.
So, do you think?
Yeah.
You think you think the president of the United States saw those images, and that's
why?
Well,
I know he did.
Yeah, that's why he came out and said. First of all, he made a kind of a general statement because he didn't have all the facts, and then I guess my point is you were there on the ground, and gosh, Billy, you are describing what to me is a pretty terrifying situation.
It was bad.
I would never want to be in that position or that situation. But, I guess I'm just saying the media, and our listeners can decide for themselves, but the media is so misrepresenting not just this event, but tons of events, but event like this. And now we have, and this is what contributed to those people showing up in Arkansas, charging at you guys and trying to recreate what happened in Charlottesville. And I'm just thankful that our law enforcement in Arkansas, Hot Springs, and I know you guys work with, the national park individuals as well. They were determined to not let something like that happen again.
Oh, yeah, yeah. When we talked to Hot Springs PD, talked to police chief, Arkansas State Police, the Garvin County Sheriff's Office, and the Parks Police, the police chief of Hot Springs got up on the desk and said, "This is not going to be another Charlottesville. This is not happening here." And he guaranteed me it was not going to happen. That they would protect us, and they did.
So last question, and we've been talking with Billy Sessions. I appreciate it. What do you think when it comes to them trying to remove the statues? Do you let's say that all the statues were removed. Do you think the left would be satisfied? Do you think they would all go home?
No, that's just a stepping stone to other things that they want. They're not going to stop with Confederate monuments. They're wanting the road signs. They're even wanting to take down the founding fathers' names on certain streets. They're already starting that. That's just the beginning.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think appeasement in this situation is, I mean, if they are upset with the very foundation of the country, America, as a nation, period, then this is just a step, because the same arguments they make about being triggered or feeling oppressed because of a Confederate general statue, those same arguments can be made for George Washington, a street sign in a bad neighborhood or something like that. I mean, that's a symbol of oppression because of the name of the street. It's just the beginning, and that's why, look, I appreciate you exercising your First Amendment right. I appreciate you being peaceful. I also appreciate that you were willing to come out and say, look, we're not a white supremacist group. The media is misrepresenting this, and that's why I wanted to have you on today, Billy. And certainly,
can I add something?
Yes, sir.
Well, to validate President Trump, when he talked about the night before, okay, the left media spun it, that he was referring to the Tiki Torch March. It's saying that they were good people there the night before at Lee Park. We were there the night before Lee Park. We had people. We were carrying on intelligent debates with people of the community there at Lee Park the night before. We was live streaming. He's seen those live streams. There were other groups there that was not white supremacists that did not take part in Tiki Torch March.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, so the left's spending that even more, saying the night before there were good people there, referring to, people who are not white supremacists like you guys versus some other people who were there. And that's what the left can't seem to get their, the media just refuses to report that kind of stuff. Very frustrating, but hey, there are programs like this, Billy, and I know mediums like what you guys do on Facebook and everything else, trying to just get the truth out there, let people make up their own minds, and that's what I want to do.
Well, that's what we try to do, Paul. Well, I work with Patriot Media to give the truth to the people at these events, because you can't depend on the mainstream news to give you the truth. They will spin it. They clip their film. They put what they want to in it. That's the reason I live stream. And also, Paul, before I go, there were about 6 buses in Charlottesville. When we were making our way back to the parking garage, we encountered 6 buses, 4 tour buses, or something like a tour bus, and a couple other smaller buses, and they were drivers standing outside them buses with BLM shirts on.
So that was in Charlottesville.
That's correct.
And so we also had buses in Hot Springs.
As far as I know, yeah, there was some showed up.
Yeah, well, certainly glad they had 2 different results. We had 2 different results, but again, Billy, I appreciate you coming on, sir. It's a great contact to me to make. I'm glad that we were able to meet. If you ever need anything, just let me know, okay?
Okay, thank you, Paul, for having me on.
All righty, yes, sir, folks. We got to go to break. You're listening to the Paul